Hello, I'm Ambassador Alexander Vershbow, Deputy Secretary General of NATO, and I'm happy to kick off this web chat on the results of the NATO summit in Chicago last May. Although I've spent a large portion of my career working on NATO issues, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that NATO is the most successful alliance in history, and it's still an indispensable asset for all 28 of its members. A major reason for NATO's success is its ability to adapt to a changing world, while staying true to its core tasks and principles. Especially over the decades since the end of the Cold War, NATO has continually reinvented itself to strengthen the security of its members, to extend stability across Europe and beyond, and to equip itself to deal with new challenges and opportunities. At our previous summit in Lisbon at the end of 2010, NATO leaders adopted a new strategic concept that sets out three core tasks for NATO. First is collective defense, which means that allies will always assist each other against attack, all for one for all. The second task is crisis management, NATO employing its full range of capabilities, political as well as military, to help manage developing crises or to establish stability after a conflict has ended, wherever that contributes to alliance security. And third, cooperative security, which involves NATO engaging actively with partners, not just in Europe, but around the world, to enable our armed forces to operate together and to act jointly in other ways to enhance international security. In Chicago in May, we took a number of decisions that will help us to perform these different tasks, to make NATO fit for purpose and fit for the future. Our summit agenda had three main themes that I want to highlight in some more detail so that we can get our discussion going: Afghanistan, capabilities, and partnerships. First, Afghanistan. For over a decade, NATO has led a coalition that now includes 50 nations, the largest in recent history. Our shared goal is a stable Afghanistan that's capable of looking after its own security so that it will never again be a safe haven for terrorists who can threaten us at home. And we are making steady progress toward that goal. The Chicago summit brought together the leaders of 60 nations and organizations. It was the largest ever gathering hosted by NATO, focused on the future of Afghanistan, and it was a strong signal of the commitment of the whole international community to support the Afghan people. NATO leaders welcomed the fact that Afghans are gradually taking charge of their security, and by the middle of next year they will have the lead security responsibility across the country. By the end of 2014, the security of Afghanistan will be fully in Afghan hands. Our combat role will come to an end, but our commitment will endure. That's because at Chicago we decided that from 2015 onwards, NATO will lead a new mission to train, advise, and assist the Afghan security forces. And we're now in the process of planning that mission. So the message at Chicago was that Afghanistan is more and more standing up for its own security, but the Afghan people will not stand alone. And the Taliban shouldn't delude themselves into thinking that they can simply wait us out. Now, our second main summit theme was capabilities, to ensure that NATO is ready and able to respond to the security challenges of the 21st century, even at a time of financial austerity and declining defense budgets in many countries. At Lisbon 2 years ago, Allied leaders pledged to finance and deploy the 10 most critical capabilities, things like missile defense, cyber response, and new command and control systems. In Chicago, we took the next step, agreeing to pursue a new culture of cooperation. Our leaders agreed that nations need to work more closely together to deliver capabilities multinationally that would be too expensive for many of them to deliver individually. This is what we call smart defense. And despite the austerity which all governments have to face, allies did approve a concrete package of more than 20 multinational projects at Chicago. Many of these projects are the direct result of lessons learned from our operations, particularly regarding better surveillance, better protection, and better maintenance. At Chicago, we also took a significant step towards protecting NATO European nations from the grave and growing threat of ballistic missile proliferation. We declared an interim missile defense capability that brings together contributions from the United States and a number of European allies, all under NATO command and control. The system, which is going to grow over the course of this decade to protect all of NATO's European territory, is an example of true transatlantic teamwork. Our third major summit theme was partnerships. We made clear our determination as NATO allies to continue to invest in our vast global network of partners so that we can find common solutions to common challenges. I already mentioned the key role of partners in our operation in Afghanistan, including countries like Australia, South Korea, Georgia, Sweden, Finland, and the United Arab Emirates. European partners have already contributed in Bosnia and Kosovo, and 4 Arab countries played a role in NATO's operation in Libya last year. The importance of partners was highlighted in Chicago when NATO leaders met with their counterparts from 13 countries from all over the world, countries whose contributions in recent years have been especially significant. I had the privilege of chairing another important partnership event, the meeting of NATO foreign ministers with their colleagues from the 4 countries that aspire to NATO membership. And that's the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Montenegro, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Georgia. The meeting was an opportunity to reaffirm that NATO's door remains open. It was also a reminder that NATO's admission of 12 new members since 1999 has helped erase Cold War dividing lines and helped secure peace and democracy across Europe. But we also made clear that the aspirants still have a lot of work to do in order to walk through NATO's open door. Now, a NATO partner that's particularly close to my heart is Russia. We've made good progress in our practical cooperation with Russia in areas like counterterrorism and counter-piracy, and Russia supports us in several ways in Afghanistan. But there still remains a lot of mistrust and misperception in our relationship. Much of that centers around Russia's misplaced and exaggerated concerns about NATO's developing missile defense capability, which is directed against threats from the Middle East and not Russia. Our invitation to Russia to work with us on missile defense still stands, and I think that cooperation on missile defense could be a real game changer, showing that we can build security together rather than against each other. So, all in all, we have every reason to look back on Chicago with a great deal of satisfaction. Of course, we now have to keep up the momentum and turn decisions into reality, and in particular into real military capabilities. This will require political will, courage, and imagination. But here in Brussels, we're on the job, and I encourage you to continue to follow us closely. And if you send in questions in the next couple of weeks about NATO's post-Chicago agenda, I very much look forward to answering them. So thanks very much, and I look forward to your questions.